So, Michael, why did you start your business?
Yeah, so I was a university professor at the University of Iowa, and I was kind of at the bottom of the totem pole. We had moved back to Iowa, and so I was a visiting assistant professor. And there were some internal maneuverings going on in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, and they just no longer needed me. And I saw the writing on the wall early in the spring semester of 2022, just last year. And so I ended up starting a content writing business that then morphed into a copywriting content strategist business.
And what's the difference between the two, Michael?
So one has more to do with the actual composition. So the copywriting is writing that makes people, that compels people to do something, causes them to act. Whereas the content strategy part of my business is where I help people identify the outline and the message that they wish to convey to their customers.
So, strategy versus the actual implementation, I think.
Right, yeah. And I get a lot out of the strategizing. I really enjoy helping people strategize. I'm an ideas driven person. And so when it comes to the copywriting, I really have to focus on the ins and outs of what this is going to compel people to do and how this is hopefully offering the readers a solution to the problem that they're facing. But the content strategizing is just a lot of fun because it feels like this grand adventure that we're going on.
I love that. I'm not sure everybody would call that an adventure, but that's why you're doing what you're doing, because you feel like it is an adventure.
It is. It's a great adventure.
That's fabulous. And entrepreneurship is all about adventure. So if you're not leaning into that, then it's not the right path for you. So that's awesome. Well, this is the Fearless Climbers Business Show, and I'm your business coach and host, Kathleen Reese-Jubinville. Today, I'm talking with Michael Scott Overholt, copywriter and content strategist of Anabasis LLC. Michael, thank you so much for being here today.
It's lovely being here.
So I'd love to hear who your ideal client is.
Yeah, my ideal client is usually a six-figure business owner who is looking to clarify their message. They've been doing things okay for so long, and they are trying to go on to the next step, and they're struggling with really articulating their message. And so that's when they normally will come in and hire me. And that can come in the form of long form blog posts, copywriting, or even website copy.
And so when they're struggling at the six-figure level, what are some of the ways it's manifesting in their business?
Yeah, so it usually manifests it in their attitude. They feel stagnated. They sometimes are struggling with confidence. One of the things I've noticed that my clients do is they climb the ladders of their own, they climb the rungs of their own ladder, I should say. And in climbing those rungs, each time they kind of face some of the same issues every time. And one of them is the question, what's going to work and do I have what it takes to get there? And so I've noticed that the coaches that I've had the most success with are often coaches who have been at this business for quite some time, but they're taking on maybe in a slightly new direction or a more nuanced direction. And in going with that more nuanced direction, they struggle with the same things that everybody else struggles with. And that's like, can I do this? You know, and I come alongside and I'm like, yeah, you can do this. And I find myself kind of coaching coaches in that way. And that's what a consultant does, right? You're coming in to help solve a problem. And I find that they are most receptive to my input whenever they're taking on a slightly more nuanced direction.
Mm-hmm. Does that mean niching their business or starting a new program? Is that what you mean by?
Yeah, it can mean both. The one person I'm have in mind right now is someone who has had a coaching business for a long time that focused primarily on people who are trying to get a better, like trying to improve their relationship with alcohol. And so they're not necessarily wanting to go the teetotalers route, or they don't fall under the category of alcoholic, but they feel like they're wasting some of their time with the amount of alcohol that they're taking in. And so this particular coach, a lot of what she did with those people are their skills that are really relevant to every part of life. And how to be more disciplined, how to go from being mediocre to excellent in what they're doing. So she has decided to transition away from just focusing on alcohol and actually focusing on business owners who are just stagnant in their own businesses and facing mediocrity in their businesses. So that was a shift that we made, and helping to clarify her message going forward. She found really helpful because we all do this. We get so deep into what we offer people that we have a difficult time kind of seeing the forest. We only see a tree instead of the forest. And so I come in and I see the forest because I'm not so enmeshed in the material, and that helps them kind of find their way out and find a way forward.
I think what so many business owners, and especially coaches like you're talking about, and other service providers, consultants, is that they try to talk to everybody. And I think that's a big mistake. When you're writing copy, you need to know who you're specifically talking to, because you're going to talk about their pain points and their challenges, just like they were sitting, like you and I talking right now to each other. That's how you want to be in your copy. And so she's shifted her focus on who she's working on. So it makes sense that she would need your assistance for a whole new content strategy and copywriting to a whole new audience. It's like you're talking to a completely different, you are talking to a completely different person. So
Right.
you have to communicate in a new way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly right. And the power lies in the language.
To actually connect with people and make the conversion.
And what I mean by that too is sometimes the metaphors that we use with one group of people don't resonate very well with another group of people. So in the transition from working with this one particular group and then moving to a different group, new language had to be developed, or new language had to be used to really connect with the new clientele.
And so we were talking about the problems that you help them solve. Why are these problems fair for them to have?
My background is, I'm not going to go into the weeds on this too much, but my background is Platonic philosophy. And one of the things that I have found so helpful from ancient Greek philosophy in the world of copywriting and business is that philosophy is a dialectical process. And so what I mean by that is it's a conversation. And often it's the conversation in our head. It's like, should I do this? No, I shouldn't do this. Is this the best option? No, this is the better option. And so there's that conversation that goes on in your head. And what I've found particularly helpful about it is that the work that I do as a copywriter and consultant is really taking part in a conversation with an expert. And so when I'm working with a coach or a consultant or somebody who needs my services, I'm kind of like the Socrates in it, in the sense that I ask the questions and the answer is already inside of them. They have the answers to what they need to do. I'm not going to claim to know the answers to their problems, but what they do need is they need someone who can ask the right questions at the right time with the right motivation and in the right spirit so that they can then arrive at the answer. Every single time we've arrived at an answer, it hasn't been because I've articulated it. It's because I asked a question and they were like, this is what I need to do. And they say it. And I'm like, wait, let's make sure and, stay with this. What exactly do you mean? And then they have this kind of epiphany of what they just realized that they said. And there's so often where, I love Zoom. I love doing these things on Zoom because I can record them. And there was one time in particular, my client was saying, oh, I wish I would have written that down. I was like, I've got it recorded. We're good. But the point is, she was the one that said it. It wasn't me that said it. I was just asking some questions.
Well, you just said probably the best definition of coaching I've ever heard. That's exactly what coaches are supposed to do. Just ask the best questions and get it written or recorded so nobody forgets it. Yeah. When people come to you, Michael, how are they feeling? What are some of the emotions they're experiencing when they finally pick up the phone and call you?
Yeah, often they're frustrated, they're overworked. They, in some cases, I've even noticed a bit of a sense of shame. Like, I should get this answer. Like, I should have the answer to this by now, because they could have been coaching for 10 plus years at this point. And so those initial feelings are really And what's going on, I mean, our subconscious is processing it. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to dredge all that up from the subconscious to the conscious. And I mean, it's been shown in different scientific studies how our mind continues to work on problems. And, while we're not thinking about them, sometimes we just need to get away from the problems. And so when they come to me, it's normally because they're very driven people, they're problem solvers, and they just can't get this. And so, what feels a little unfair is that they really need to cut themselves some slack and recognize that the collaborative nature of our relationship is what's really important for them solving their problems. And they just need someone to brainstorm with, collaborate with, and they're going to be okay.
When you talked about people getting stuck in that, they get to that six figures and somehow they're stuck. And sometimes that's why they come to you. To take a business to the next level, you have to be willing to delegate. And it's really hard as business owners because we are so capable. We can do so many things and you'll make more money faster, which means you're saving money by getting an expert like you to help them out. So you have to think through how this works out in the short run, not just the long run, but in the short run for your business to get help on some of these things we're stuck on. Yeah. And so when someone contacts you, Michael, exactly what is the process that you go through with them?
The first call is to really connect with them. I want to find out, first of all, if what I have is going to help them. And I'll tell them if I don't think that I'm the best person for you. I'm okay with saying that. I'm confident in what I bring to the table. And I'm also confident in saying, I don't think that I'm the best person here. But if I feel like I do have something to help them with, then we set up a consultation or a strategy session, depending on what it is. And we work together on identifying the outline, and then they go about doing what they do best. And with copywriting, I write the copy for them. And then I'll contact them and let them know when stuff is done. I always use Loom videos. Anytime I produce something, whether it's a consultation response or whether it's actual copy that I've written for them, I love going through it with a Loom video saying, here's what I've done. Here's what you can feel free to change. Here's what I think needs to, stay unmoved, unedited. But being able to also give them some leeway to understand not only like why I've done what I've done, but also what they can continue to do with what I've provided for them. And then at that point, it's a handing off. And one of the things I do work with some clients on with like webinar presentations is I make sure to help out with the optimization of that product, which is something that not all copywriters do. And I think it's something that sets me apart a little bit. If it's a webinar presentation where, at the end of it, the call to action is to maybe book a call with the presenter and maybe sign up for some product or service. I want to pay attention to how effective the webinar presentation is, and then continue to work with the presenter over the next couple of months to make sure that it's up to speed, that it's getting the most bang for its buck.
You're right. That is so different from what a lot of people do. They'll just create it and be done. And that's not the way marketing works. Marketing is it's trial and error. It's an art, but at the same time, it's a science of trial and error. You hypothesize that this is going to work, and then you try it, and then you learn from that, and you try it again. And I think what happens is a lot of times people give up too soon. They try it once or twice. It's like, well, this isn't working. Well, gosh, if you just change some of the language inside of what you were saying, whether it's your sales presentation or, like you said, a webinar or any of that, it makes a huge difference. Even people that are networking, if they're not getting results in their networking group, it's because they're not saying the right things. And it's really just about how we communicate. That is the essence of the success of a business. So your skill set is tremendously needed out there. So what would be your best piece of advice for a new business owner?
Yeah, it's a great question. Lead with value. Getting a business off the ground is compared to like a rocket. And the initial rocket engine phase is all about thrust and getting things up off the ground. And the easiest way to do that is to make sure to lead with value. I didn't know exactly what this meant until I was like, I am just not getting the results that I need. And so finding a way that provides a valuable service to people right up front is the best way to get clientele. And here's something that doesn't work. When I see this happen all the time on LinkedIn, especially, where it's like, hey, I've got these coaching skills. Do you need any coaching? And that question is just not going to go anywhere because there's no value that's given up front. And so for me as a copywriter, what ended up happening is I would write copy for people and say, hey, I'm trying out this new copywriting formula. I saw an event that you had. I wrote some copy for it. You're welcome to use it if you want. Just let me know if it works. All right. And people have been responded overwhelmingly positive to that sort of approach, as opposed to me just saying, hey, I'm a copywriter. Do you have any copy needs? Something like that.
Yeah.
So,
And that's exactly why we're talking today, because that's
it
what
is.
you did. You reached out to me.
I call it reverse prospecting, I guess, because I want to make sure that I'm offering something valuable. And that's where my love language is. My love language is acts of service. And so, actually leading with that is probably the most helpful thing I've done, because people then see, okay, this guy is genuine, he's sincere in what he wants to do, and he's already given me something up front.
And I think it's aligned with what social media is supposed to be anyway, social. And so relationship building, there was an era, and I started in this era of where networking was all in person and we'd go to the meetings, and that still works fabulously. And we can apply those same principles when we're talking to each other on social media. And it doesn't have to be just this big cold calling and cold DMing fest. It's relationship building and, like you said, service and value. Well, Michael, thanks again for being here today.
Oh, it was a pleasure.
So be sure to follow or subscribe so you don't miss any of our small business success strategies, and click on the links below for more helpful free resources. Hey, if you're interested in learning more about Michael's content writing solutions, go to his website to book a call now. That's at anabasisllc.com, ANABASIS LLC.com.